it's an extremely sensual experience, visually, sound-wise, smell-wise. So it will be similar to a festival in Kerala. So sevens football, as the name suggests, is played with seven players on each side in relatively smaller grounds. So there are no particular dimensions for these football grounds because these sport were shaped because of lack of proper football stadiums. Yes, so you can play it anywhere, in the beach, in the maidans, in a school ground, right? So the dimensions of the court doesn't matter much, right? And the rules are flexible. Yes, so when you are playing, you can, the fouls are not particularly determined. It depends on the referee. Yes, but there are also sevens tournaments now, right? So in those spaces, the rules are kind of standardized, but still, this is also a spectator sport, right? So certain forms of violence is rewarded, right? The crowd expects some forms of action. Yes. So the rules of sevens football is similar to the association football, right? The goal is to kick it into the other goal post. That's all the same. It's just that it's more localized and it is flexible, particularly with the dimensions of the court. Sometimes the time is also adjusted depending on how the game is happening. So if the crowd is really bored with it, they kind of rush up the game. So sevens is not a formal sport. So this category of formal, non-formal kinds of break down when we actually go to the field, right? When you do field work, these categories won't make any sort of sense. But as per official documents, right, this is not a formalized sport. This is not standardized sport, right? So there is no recorded history of when the first sevens match was played, right? So people remember it being played in the 50s, 40s, right? And mostly it's so my initial thought was that it was a Malabar specific sport, right? But no, it's played in many pockets of Kerala and also in other regions across India. So there were all India sevens tournaments at several points, right? So players from Punjab, from Assam, they would come down to the south and they play. And players in Malabar, they have gone to Punjab and played the sevens football, right? But it's most popular in northern parts of Kerala. My fieldwork was situated in Kozhikode and Malappuram, where there are more number of sevens football tournaments. So, um, uh, so any football player who's interested in the sport has some kind of access to these tournaments. Yes, so you will find players from age 15 to 55 or even 60 playing the sport. Yes, you will also find professional footballers who are part of football clubs in Kolkata, Malayalis who belong to these clubs also coming to play sevens football because sevens football is lucrative. You get paid to play certain sevens football tournaments. So my research also focuses on how sevens football is also a source of work for many players. So it's not just for entertainment, but it is also an important source of non-formal work. Mostly they are men. Most of the exclusively men. I hardly saw even a female spectator. Right, most it happened at night. It's mostly it's a masculine space completely. So the commentaries during these matches are extremely interesting. They can be a research material, by itself. It's so fascinating because they narrativize the game and they tell a story which is far more fascinating than what is actually happening on the ground. They would bring these comparisons, very exotic images. They do that even for the native people, right? For example, it's saying, his hands look like this iron bar, and in Malayalam this would sound very appealing, right? And they would bring in vernacular motifs, vernacular images, right? And many uh, beliefs about certain countries, right? So they have not been to Africa, but they would imagine that, this is how things are there, and then they would cook up these, and they kind of go non-stop, right? They keep saying this, and it's an art in itself, right? There are particular commentators who are well loved, so people would want them. And interestingly, for Indian Super League, there was this one particular commentator who did the same thing in Malayalam, which that was very similar to local commentary. He did that to Indian Super League, and people loved it. Right? It was like bringing the best of both the worlds, right? So it's commercialized football and local football. So I think the play of vernacular is very important. So exoticization is there for all loved bodies, right? Because it's a very it's there in the gaze, right? That spectator and player, like you're there, you're consuming the bodies, right? You're visually consuming the bodies. So that exoticization is there, yes, and the degrees vary. If it is a player from Nigeria, it is different, and if it is a player, and if it's a local person, if he's from that particular region, there will be different kinds of stories that come with, and they would also compare his past exploits and all that. Usually, they also connect if it's a local man, if it's a local player, they somehow bring in the history of the region also. They kind of say that it's a legacy. It's he's being this son of the soil kind of imagery. So they bring in region, and so it will be a different kind of exoticization. Right? One thing is that sport also reflects what is in the society. Right? You will also see all sort of hierarchies, inequalities within the sport. Right? Even within among men, you will see different kinds of masculinities being present there. Masculinities associated with caste, associated with class, what kind of occupation do you do, what kind of caste you belong to, all that is visible, even within the sports scenario. Yes. However, it's important to understand that there are also possibilities of subversion within sport, because it brings together different kinds of people. Right? It cannot stay exclusive. You need people to watch football. Yes, and also because it's a regional business. It's a local business. The stake is much higher. You want to bring people together, especially in times of the popular sports appearing in TV. Right. So these local tournaments are also competing with televised sport. Yes. So you need more people coming to these tournaments, right? So the question of representations and the organization part, so they have to address these issues of exclusion, right? In many ways, there is also this tendency to naturalize certain bodies, right? For example, you will see people from particular communities, for particular caste playing the football, right? And it's very easy to stereotype certain bodies in sport, as some people are more violent than the other, for example, right? And interestingly, you will also find people from Sudan, for example, coming and playing in these local tournaments, right? They're also paid well. Yes. So certain naturalization, certain racialization of bodies also happen in these spaces, but there are also potential to subvert these stereotypes. So you will see both. Yes? Because they repeatedly tell you that sport is apolitical. They would say that, in our politics, there is no religion, there is no political party, there is no affiliation, it's just football. So football is seen as this neutral space where they can bring together people from different political ideologies or religious affiliations, right? So football had that force or that possibility to bring people together. While it is true, football was also extremely politically charged, in the sense that it was embedded within the social. Yes, football was played within a set of social relations. For example, access to particular public land, right? It is mediated. There is some sociality working there. and the conduct of tournaments. So you will see the importance of football tournaments when you see the important people coming there, yes, and how certain fan associations use these spaces to push their agendas, right? So while working for the upliftment of football, they also work towards asking for things which were important for their community, which were important for their region. One particular example I talk in my paper is how a particular fan association demanded for claim over a public land, right? So the corporation was trying to convert one particular ground into a slaughterhouse, and the people, that particular neighborhood didn't want a slaughterhouse there, because they thought that it will cause more pollution, right? And also certain stigmas associated with slaughterhouse, right? So what did they do? They converted that land into a football ground. They overnight they started playing there every day, and they conducted events there and declared that it is a football ground, right? And now a corporation trying to convert a football ground into a slaughterhouse would it would cause a lot of drama. And it's not easy for a corporation to convert a football ground in a place where football is of high value. So that this particular fan association used the popularity of football in order to secure a public land. Here we are talking about complex context where even this naming of sport as a form of work opens up a lot of things, right? It's relatively a new thing. Yes, particularly looking at sevens football as a kind of sport. And the identification of football players as workers began a few years ago in Kerala, especially when they formed a sevens football association. So there are a couple of associations that ensure that the players are taken care of. However, the workers' consciousness question is still in play. We do not know how that will happen, especially because it's not formalized, and it is also seasonal, right? So it's kind of difficult to kind of define and to identify who these players are, right? So they might play for one season and they might not play for the next season, right? So the identity is also fluid. Yes. Having said that, it was important how this particular question of football players as workers came up during the pandemic situation, right? There was this one particular person's appeal to the chief minister, asking to recognize that they also lost their jobs. So that interestingly, many players did not like that frame. They did not want it to be identified as football workers, because it was also a matter of honor, right? This was something we did. This was not work, right? Because work has a difficult connotation, especially for players from working class backgrounds, because they wanted to separate their work and play, right? So most of them I interviewed were also fishermen, right? So fishing was their work, right? In football, that I played for myself. They wanted to maintain that script. So many players kind of opposed this player's definition of football as work. They did not want such a discussion to bring it forward. Yeah, so it's not a very easy definition. It's not an easy identification. Yes, they love the money that come from the sport, but this association is also stigmatized in many ways. That it also kinds of maybe for them it feels like they're doing this for money. They don't want that script to be out there. They want the narration that they play the game because they love it. So the difference of work and play also kind of plays out in the whole defining of science fiction.